You are standing on a beach in Thailand, and the ocean has just disappeared. Not receded. Disappeared. Fish are flopping on wet sand that should be 20 feet underwater. Children are running out to collect them, laughing, delighted by what looks like a gift from the sea. You have no way of knowing that what you're witnessing is the warning sign of one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history, and that in roughly 20 minutes, none of this will matter anymore. It's the morning of December 26, 2004. Just after 7 a.m. local time, deep beneath the Indian Ocean off the coast of Sumatra, two tectonic plates that have been grinding against each other for centuries finally give way. The Indian plate slips beneath the Burma plate along a fault line more than 1,200 kilometers long. It is the third largest earthquake ever recorded by modern instruments, somewhere between magnitude 9.1 and 9.3. The seafloor itself lurches upward by several meters in an instant, displacing an almost unimaginable volume of water. Can you picture what it means to move an entire ocean? Geophysicist Kerry C., who had spent years studying the fault lines beneath Sumatra before the disaster, had actually warned that a major rupture was overdue in this exact region. His research on coral growth patterns had shown evidence of ancient earthquakes striking roughly every 2 centuries. Nobody could have predicted the exact date, but the warning signs in hindsight had been there for years. The earthquake itself lasts almost 10 minutes, an extraordinary length of time for a seismic event. In Sumatra's Aceh province, the shaking alone brings down buildings and kills thousands before a single wave ever reaches shore. But the earthquake is only the beginning. Deep in the ocean, the sudden displacement of water sends out shock waves in every direction. These aren't ordinary waves. They are tsunami waves, and in open water, they move at the speed of a passenger jet, nearly 800 kilometers per hour. You wouldn't even feel it if you were sailing above one. In deep water, a tsunami wave might only rise a foot or two above the surface. It's only as the wave approaches shallow coastal water that it begins to slow down and rise, transforming from an unnoticeable ripple into a wall of water that can reach 10 meters or more. Why didn't anyone see it coming? The truth is heartbreaking in its simplicity. There was no tsunami warning system in the Indian Ocean in 2004. The Pacific had one, built after decades of tsunami disasters in places like Hawaii and Japan. But nobody had built the equivalent network of sensors and buoys here. Tsunami researcher Kostas Sinalakis, who has spent decades studying wave dynamics around the world, later noted that the technology to detect this exact kind of disaster had existed for years. It simply hadn't been installed in the region that needed it most. So the wave traveled in near silence. It struck the coast of Aceh first, within roughly 20 to 30 minutes of the earthquake, giving almost no time for warning, even if one had existed. Entire coastal towns were erased within minutes. Then the wave kept moving. It crossed the open ocean toward Sri Lanka and India, striking those coastlines around 90 minutes to 2 hours later. It reached as far as Somalia on the African coast, nearly 7 hours after the earthquake first struck, a distance of over 4,500 kilometers from where it began. Doesn't it seem almost impossible that a single event in Indonesia could kill people on the shores of East Africa the same day? In Thailand, the water receding from the beach was the only warning most people got. Some recognized it instantly, remembering stories passed down about tsunamis and pulling their families to high ground. Most did not. There simply wasn't a cultural memory of this kind of disaster in a region that had never experienced anything like it in living history. NOAA tsunami modeling expert Vasily Titov, who has studied how these waves behave as they interact with coastlines, has explained that the shape of a coast and the depth of the seafloor just offshore can dramatically change how destructive a tsunami becomes when it finally arrives. Some towns were spared by pure geography. Others, positioned in exactly the wrong configuration of bay and slope, were annihilated. The wave didn't strike as a single towering crest, the way disaster films often depict it. In many places, it arrived as a fast-rising flood, water climbing with terrifying speed, sweeping cars, buildings, and people inland with it. In others, survivors describe a genuine wall of water, dark with churned sand and debris, moving faster than anyone could run. What would you do standing on that shore, watching the water come back in wrong? By the time the waves finally stopped reaching new coastlines, 14 countries across South and Southeast Asia and East Africa had been struck. Indonesia suffered the highest death toll by far, with entire regions of Aceh province wiped from the map. Sri Lanka, India, and Thailand each lost tens of thousands of people. The final death toll is estimated at around 230,000 people, though the exact number will likely never be known with certainty, since so many bodies were never recovered from the ocean or from beneath collapsed buildings. More than 1.7 million people were displaced from their homes. Entire fishing communities, the economic backbone of countless coastal towns, were wiped out in minutes, along with the boats and nets that had sustained families for generations. How do you even begin to rebuild after something like that? The response that followed became one of the largest humanitarian relief efforts in history. Billions of dollars in aid poured in from governments and private donors around the world. But the disaster also exposed a painful gap in global infrastructure. Within 2 years, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System was established, a network of deep ocean sensors and coastal alert centers designed to give people in the region the warning that didn't exist in 2004. It has since detected and provided advance notice for several smaller tsunami events in the years since, potentially saving thousands of lives that would otherwise have been lost the same way. Researchers have continued studying the Sumatra Andaman fault system in the years since 2004, trying to understand exactly how much stress remains along its length and what future ruptures might look like. The science of tsunami prediction has advanced enormously because of what was learned that single morning, even though nothing can undo what was lost. There's something almost unbearable about the ordinariness of how it began. A quiet Sunday morning, families on holiday, fishermen already out on the water, children playing on a beach where the tide had just gone strangely, wonderfully low. You are standing on a beach in Thailand, and the ocean is coming back. Only now you understand exactly what that means, and what it cost the world to learn it.